Hello, my name is Pratiksha Manglekar and we'll be starting with a new topic, the schoolboy. This is a poem and this is the second topic in your textbook. So this is the image that's given in your text which shows there are many students who are sitting in a classroom probably. There is one of them who is dreaming about something and then there are few other students who are playing outside. You can see that through the window. We'll understand the meaning of this at the end of all our lectures, right? I'm sure you will be able to tell me what is the meaning of this. Okay, so this is the poem, and before we get on to the poem, let us learn a little bit about the poet. So this is taken from Songs of Experience, which is a collection of poems by William Blake. Okay, see, as you can see here, author and printer William Blake. So he is also printed this book. Okay, he's not only composed the poems inside it, but also printed it, right? And this is William Blake. Let us learn a little bit about him. Remember that everything is important, considering all your exams and considering knowledge also, right? You need to learn. So this is where he was born. Okay, on the left hand side, which is a sketch, that is how it looked earlier. This is the modern one on your right hand side. Okay, it's an actual image. Right. So Mr. William Blake was born on 28th November 1757 in Soho, London, England. Soho Street. In the previous slide we have seen the Soho Street itself. He died on 12th of August 1827. He was 69 years old. He died in London. So basically he lived in London, England. Okay, so do you all know where is London? I will show you where it is. Right, I have an image of, here you go. So this is United Kingdom, and this is England, and in England we have London. It is star marked over here. So this is London. Okay, so he lived in London. Occupation, poet, painter and printmaker. As we already saw, he was the one who printed that particular book, Songs of Experience, right? He has printed many others also. So he was a poet, painter and printmaker. And literary movement, he belonged to which literary movement? He belonged to Romantic movement or Romanticism. Now what does Romanticism mean? It's not necessarily the romance that we see in Bollywood movies or in Hollywood movies or in movies in general. Romanticism means the love for nature, okay, or appreciating nature in their particular works. That's what romantic poets do, right? So he was one of them. They also wrote about experience and all that. Okay, notable works: Songs of Experience, from which the schoolboy is taken; The Marriage of Heaven and Hell; The Four Zoas; Jerusalem; Milton; and Did Those Feet in Ancient Time, and many others. Okay, so let us start with learning the poem. And before I go to it, I want you all to think about your school life, okay, and your school teachers. I'm sure a lot of you have very positive memories about school, but there are a few of them who don't have very positive memories of school, and our poet is one of them, right? So keep that in mind. Keep your memory cells active, and well, let us learn this. I love to rise in a summer morn. Okay, summer morn means summer morning. Who loves to rise? The schoolboy. Okay, because the title tells us it is the schoolboy. Now who is speaking? It is William Blake who is speaking, but not William Blake who is a grown man. William Blake as a school going boy, as a small schoolboy. Okay, so that schoolboy loves to rise in the summer morn, loves to wake up early in the morning during summers. Okay, so see, he's already woken up at 6 o'clock when sun is just risen. When the birds sing on every tree, if you can see the small hints of romantic poetry, the poet is constantly talking about some or the other natural factors, okay, or some or the other elements of nature. He's talking about birds singing on every tree. Everything is natural in this. When the birds sing on every tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn. Okay, now what is the scene? The child has woken up early, on a summer morning. The child sees the birds, chirping on trees. Okay, and there's a distant huntsman who's winding his horn. Winds his horn means blows his horn. Distant huntsman. Distant means far away. There's a huntsman who is far away, and he is blowing, he's winding the horn. I'll show you what a horn looks like. So this is how he's blowing. This is a very modern horn that's there, but I'll tell you what kind of horn he means is this horn. Okay, which is probably made of some natural element itself. Okay, probably some animal product. So this is the horn, and the distant huntsman is winding it, means blowing. Wind is to put air in it, right? Blow air in it. Winds his horn. And the skylark sings with me. Oh, what sweet company. This is a skylark. This image is of a skylark. And he says, the skylark is also singing with me. What beautiful company, right? You have already imagined a very beautiful start to the day. But does this really happen? Does this really happen? No, the child does not get to experience this. Why? But to go to school in a summer morn, okay, the child has to actually go to school instead of enjoying all these beauties of nature. But to go to school in a summer morn, oh, it drives all the joy away, right? So going to school is actually driving the joy away from the school boy. Okay, where would the child get joy? The child would get joy in waking up early in the morning and listening to the birds chirping, listening to the huntsman winding his horn, right? The skylark singing with him. All these things would have actually given him joy, but then no, his dreams are shattered. Why? Because there is school, he has to attend school, right? Under a cruel eye outworn. Cruel eye outworn means the child is under cruel eyes. Now, whose eyes are we talking about? Who is who has authority in school? It's a teacher. Okay, he's probably talking about a teacher. Okay, so this teacher is constantly, cruel. Okay, cruel with this particular child. He has to be under these eyes throughout the day. Under these cruel eyes outworn. What is cruel? Opposite of kind. Kind is someone who is helpful. You can see the girl being very kind to the small little pups, whereas the boy is very cruel to them. He's going around hitting them. That is how cruel is. Okay, under cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. Okay, this is how the little ones are spending their day. How are they spending it? They're sighing. Sighing means right? You take a deep breath and you exhale, right? Because you are just tired in school. Okay, you want to just get rid of this. You want to run away, go away. So, and dismay is feeling of fear or discouragement. Okay, there is no what is this? There's no excitement at all left. They are so tired and they're so discouraged, and everything is so monotonous. Monotonous means everything is similar, everything is alike, every day is alike, and the child doesn't want this. The child is tired. Look at this child, exactly like this. The child is extremely tired and he's sighing. When will this day get over, is what the child is thinking. The little ones, okay, means the little students that are there. Third stanza begins with, ah, then at times I drooping sit. How is a child sitting? The child is sitting in the classroom in a very drooping manner. Now, what is drooping? Okay, let me explain it to you with an example. So, this particular eye that you see is a regular eye. Okay, a very regular eye which is, proper, which has, the strength to keep, the eyes are open, the eyelids are open and you can see the eye very properly. Whereas this one is droopy. Okay, you can see it's half closed already. By drooping you mean something which is bending, which is not very straight, which is bending on something else probably. It doesn't have the activeness anymore. Okay, someone who is very limpy is also called a very droopy person. Also, something which is like hanging, which doesn't have any strength, which is taking support of something else and like hanging, right? That is droopy. Okay, so this is the example for droopy. So this eye is droopy in this particular slide. The eye is droopy, whereas in the poem the child itself is drooping, as in the child itself is leaning like this and bending. Okay, doesn't have any strength. That's because the child is not enjoying school, right? And spend many an anxious hour. How is the child spending time? Very anxiously. In many an anxious hour means hours, right? He's talking about time. And how is he spending time? The child is spending time anxiously. Okay, probably he is breaking his knuckles, or he's shaking his leg like this, right? Or he's looking here and there, doesn't have anything to do because he doesn't take any delight, any joy in learning in school, because he wants to go out, enjoy nature, right? So that's how he's spending the time at school. Right? Another example of how the child must be spending time at school. He's just waiting, anxiously waiting. And what is the child waiting for? What is the child waiting for? I'm sure you know this. The child is waiting probably for the bell to ring, so that the child is free, because the child considers this school to be a place of restrictions, wants to cannot go out and enjoy. So he's probably waiting for the bell anxiously. Let us continue. Nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bower. Right? Nor in my book can I take delight means the child doesn't take any delight in reading the book. Okay, by book he means in studies or in education, probably in general. Has no absolutely any interest in sitting and learning like any other child does. See how this child is learning and getting a lot of experiences. But this particular child, this particular our schoolboy, has no such interests. That doesn't have any such interest. Just has no interest in books whatsoever. Doesn't take delight means doesn't enjoy it, right? Nor sit in learning's bower. Now let's understand the meaning of this particular word, bower. What is a bower? Bower necessarily means this particular tree. Okay, a place which is extremely green, a shady place where you can actually go and sit and enjoy that shade, right? In such a place, when you are in the hot sun, if you find a tree's shade, that would be a bower. Okay, a very natural bower. It necessarily means tree's shade. Okay, right? So sit in learning's bower. So this particular word, learning's bower, is a metaphor. Okay, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for what? It is a metaphor for school itself. So he has no delight, he takes no delight in books, nor does he want to sit in learning's bower. He doesn't want to sit in school. Learning's bower means learning shade. Where do you actually get to learn a lot? Okay, under which roof do you get to learn a lot? It's the school. So it's a metaphor. Learning's bower is a metaphor for this child's school or schools in general. Worn through with the deary shower. Okay, worn through with a deary shower. Okay, worn means what? These shoes, they are worn. See, look at their condition. Look at these shoes. Can you wear them any longer? They cannot be worn any longer because they are damaged beyond repair. Okay, that is the meaning of the word worn. Okay, WORN, worn. Worn out means damaged beyond repair. It cannot be used anymore. They are useless now. They should be thrown away. That is how the child feels. The child feels worn out. The child feels worn. Child feels worn through with the deary shower. How is the child feeling? The child is feeling absolutely useless, and worn means damaged. Because of what? Damaged with what? This particular word through. Okay, this particular word through simply means through. THROUGH. The short form for THROUGH. THRO and apostrophe. Apostrophe is the one which is completing the remaining letters. For example, in this THROUGH, that apostrophe stands for UGH. So it simply stands for through. THROUGH. So worn through, with through means completely, through means inside out, okay, throughout. That's the meaning. So this child is worn, damaged throughout. With what? With deary shar. What is deary? What is the meaning of the word? Deary. So this particular child you can see is all dull, not active, extremely passive, lazy, bleak. That dullness is nothing but deary. Okay, so this is deary. And by shar, you know what is the meaning of shar. Right? This is a shar. So does the poet actually talk about a real shar, the one I have shown you? No, the poet is talking about a deary shar, means a shar of dullness, a shar of repetitiveness, a shar of laziness. Right? So this shar means it's a deary shar. It's a deary means a shar of dullness. Why does he probably use this image of shar? What happens when you go under a shower? You are completely wet, right? Your body gets wet completely. That is how the shower is designed, right? Once the water starts splashing, you are wet completely. That is how it is. That is how deariness is. That is how dullness is. That is how negativity is. It fills you all up. That is how the child feels worn through. Child is completely damaged through, in and out. With what? With dullness. So this is the meaning. Let's move on to the next stanza. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? Right, it's a very good question that the poet is asking us, right? The schoolboy is actually asking us that how can the bird, birds are born for joy. Birds are necessarily a symbol for all positivity. So birds that are meant to fly and sing and enjoy their life, give out happiness. How can that bird sit in a cage and sing? Like in this particular image, you can see the bird is kept inside a cage. Now, can you expect the bird to enjoy that particular cage, right? Can you restrict its movement and then expect it to enjoy itself? No, right? So now here the bird is not actually, he's not talking about the real bird. Here the bird means who? Himself. The child is the bird, and what is the cage? The school is the cage. So he's telling, how can you expect positivity out of me if you keep me restricted like this in a cage? Okay, so this is what the reality is. This is what he's trying to tell us. The school boy is telling us that this boy inside, although it looks like a girl, now imagine it's a boy. So this boy inside the cage is the child. Okay, this particular child inside the cage is the school boy, whereas this particular cage outside is the school. Okay, I hope you understood this. It's easy. Now, next question is asking, how can a child when fears annoy? How can a child when fears annoy but droop his tender wing? Okay, now he's asked a bigger question. How can a child, means this particular child who fears and who's afraid of all the negativity. Okay, what is the meaning of the word annoy? To annoy someone means to irritate someone, to trouble someone, to be angry at someone. Right? It's a negative word. So who is annoying the child? It's the school, it's the teachers. These people are annoying the child. So the child who is afraid of this, the child who is afraid of this of this annoyance, how can this particular child but droop his tender wing? Means now the child is already frustrated, already tired and irritated with all this particular system. I is telling this child has to droop his tender wing. Droop means, we have already learned this word. Droop is where it is hanging, falling, bending. Okay, in this particular context it means the tender wing. Tender means young. Okay, very young, tender, very young wing. That is like you must have heard the word tender coconut. What is tender coconut? Tender is when a coconut is not fully grown, right? It is in its very young stage itself. The wing was also in its young stage, but now it is drooping. Okay, drooping means it's falling, bending. Okay, doesn't have any activeness. Why? Because of all the annoyance, right? And forget his youthful spring. How can the child do this? How can a child, when fears annoy, but droop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? How can a child do this? The child is meant to live a long life and enjoy his childhood as well as his youth. So youth is now connected to spring. Okay, where spring. What happens in spring? A lot of new plants are growing, new fruits are growing, right? Every plant is flowering, so it's a very beautiful scene, correct? So how can a child forget his youthful spring? How can a child forget all this that's happening? How can a child forget the reality of life, which is so beautiful, right? And how should the child handle this? The child is itself asking this particular question. If you keep annoying the child so much, how is the child going to enjoy his youth? Okay, so we'll stop here and I hope you all have understood. Okay, we'll continue the poem in the next lecture.